All right, we're back. The BGPerform
Finally.
podcast. Got my boy Jerry here. It's been a crazy few months. Actually, I don't even know
Yeah.
the last time we did the podcast, but it's been a little bit. We've been busy. We've been moving. So what I want to do is I basically want to get us back on track with the podcast, and we're gonna have a new concept to Jerry, but an old concept for me. We're going to introduce the AMTAP back. And if any of you have been following me since the beginning, the OG days, well, I'm going to take credit. I started the AMTAP. I did start the AMTAP. The AMTAP podcast, basically injecting this with the AMTAP method. If you're familiar with fitness, AMRAP is a term that is often used for as many reps or rounds as possible, depending on the exercise you're doing. AMTAP is just as much talking as possible in 30 minutes. We're going to do as much of it as we can. We're going to set a 30-minute time cap. Sometimes we go over, sometimes we'll finish. It happens, but we're going to see where we get to it. When I'm ready, we're going to start this clock. We're going to dive into all the things that we've been talking about. But before then, make sure you check out YouTube. I'm posting shit on there every single day, every week, actually. Instagram, I'm posting shit on there every single day. Check out Jerry's Instagram, Coach Jerry Hayes. And yeah, are you ready? We'll get into this thing.
So ready, bro. So ready.
We're setting this timer. I'm going to actually go the actual clock route and get
What's the
back
actual clock route versus a fake one? Is it
smart wad timer
all right?
as opposed to just a regular timer. Are you ready?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir, I am.
You're ready. Let's go.
Is it the 3, 2, 1, or is that it?
Let's go. Let's go. We're
Brandon,
back.
what's been new, brother? What's been new?
So currently, I'm in England. You guys have
Mhm.
obviously been paying attention to me the last year. I've done a lot of traveling and I've been working with Ian. We've been all over the place in the last year. Actually, take it back just a little bit. July 5th was my celebration for working 1 year full time with Ian. So that was a cool day because I remember just about a year ago, I was with Jerry that first weekend when I made the jump to do this. I had left everything that I had in Florida, clients, all that stuff, left it to make the jump to work with Ian full time. And that first weekend, I made a trip to Colorado to see Jerry, out to Montana to see, my friends in Montana. And then I came back to spend a couple days with Jerry. And ever since I left Colorado that weekend, it's been nonstop for the last year. Been to 6 different countries: Ireland, Spain, England, US, Brazil, and Iceland.
Yeah, I was gonna
So
say, don't forget Iceland, man.
yeah, Iceland, that's one of my favorites. And I was just talking to Jared before this. I'm planning a couple trips here and while I'm in England to see a couple more. But it's been a crazy year, and especially the last 6 months, Ian's gotten into the top 15, or sorry, the top 10, right? And then well, top 15 and top 10. Some of these fights seem so long ago, and they were literally like
Yeah, it's moving
half.
so fast. Yeah.
And we're looking, at the end of this year to hopefully break into the top five, and then next year a belt. So after this past fight, he fought on June 29th in Las Vegas. He fought MVP, and he fought the fight that he needed to against MVP. Honestly, I think Ian's someone who could have won on the feet as well, but if you have the skills, you go for it, right? And it was a great camp overall. I think it was one of these fights where obviously it's supposed to be on a Connor card. It wasn't on the Connor card, and we continued and we just kept pushing through. And Ian, had one of his highest IQ fights, I believe. And really, that fight should have been over in the first round. But, anyways, after that, I went home for a few weeks, rested, saw the family, recovered. And yeah, we're back at it. We've been in England for just about 2.5 weeks now, getting back into the groove, getting back into work. Really, I found some motivation when I was home, which was really good. I was looking at a lot of things that I wasn't doing in regards to the business and some of the things that I really wanted to do inside the business. And I started really just again in something I posted actually this morning on my actually I didn't post it on my story. It was on the video you guys will see next week. But injecting as much positivity in my ears as possible with the people that I want to listen to, building an environment just right here with, as much as I can, getting the stuff that I need to get in, whether it's learning about business, learning about people who are doing similar things that I want to do or that are at the top of their industry and their field. So really, this last 6 months, especially the end of last year into the, beginning 6 months of this year has been a lot of growth, a lot of change, a lot of uh, uh, challenging times and challenging areas, and forcing myself to grow in a lot of ways that have been, I would say, that I never really thought about. Obviously, when you're in one place, but the travels, they teach you a lot, and yeah, so it's been crazy. It's been a good year, and I'm excited to kind of get back into this groove with the podcast and with the filming, because I think that this is one of the things that really can help tell the story and help really build this timeline across of the things that we have going on and where we're looking to be. So, um, and as much as I have changed, right, and I've had a lot of change, Gerald has also had some change. He made some big moves. He's been working on some shit the last year and some change. So take it away.
I don't even know where to start, man. It's crazy. Like I feel like the last even like 3, 4 months just went by in a flash. Basically like the last year I've been trying to figure out where I want to be, what I want to do, who I want to do it with essentially. So like obviously Brandon and I are always making moves and trying to better ourselves and our clientele and change the fitness space as it's known right now. But I was trying to figure out where my place was, and being a family man, I always wanted to be closer to family. When I moved to Colorado, I was with someone else. And then after that, I was just kind of solo for a few years. So I was like, let me figure out what I want to do, where I want to be. It was either go back to the East Coast to New York or come out to California with some other family. Got my sister out here, brother-in-law, their kids. So I decided very last second. It was like something that was on my mind for a while, and then it was a very quick change. I decided to move out to California, so I'm just outside of Los Angeles. Um, I'll be working at Immortals Boxing
Let's
as
go.
their strength and conditioning coach as well. And then obviously continuing to build our own stuff. Um, Brandon and I have been working on a ton of different stuff together. One of those things being a program called Dinner Party, which is
We'll get
gonna
to that. Don't give too
yeah,
much
which is
information.
gonna
We'll get.
be a bigger thing, yeah. But like that's gonna be releasing. We got that going, a couple other projects on the way, and not as many changes as Brandon over there. I feel like your location changes like every few weeks. But but yeah, just big changes for me, and it's good to be in a new place, new faces, new people, and kind of just start fresh. So
Yeah, I think it's gonna be great. I think the change, the changes, like I said, they challenged me, and I think I told Jerry this a bunch of times, but one of the biggest things is in the last 3 years, 3 or 4 years, right? I've moved. Well, I don't know if you count these what I do now as moving, but like I
you're
moved from
living in a different place. You're nomadic right now.
yeah, I
It's
know.
a
I'm
constant
homeless. I
move.
like to
It's
say
one
I'm
big move.
homeless. I tell everybody I'm homeless right now. That's
Yeah.
and but when I first moved, I first left Albany. When I first sold the gym, or my percentage of the gym, I I moved to Nashville shortly after that, and I was able to kind of like shed the stuff that I didn't want in my life and my personality and the things that I was doing. I was able to shed that and really just leave it in the past, leave it there, and I became a new person. And even in that short 8 months in Nashville, I was able to challenge myself and change. I wasn't fully where I wanted to be yet. Then I ended up getting the opportunity in Florida, and when I was down there for the last 2 years, it was a lot. That's where I made the most change, and when I made that change from Nashville to Florida, I left even more stuff behind, right? And not behind in the sense of like I forgot about it. It was just I didn't want to have certain characteristics. I didn't want to be a certain person. I didn't want to have a certain personality anymore. I wanted to be an individual who could withstand this stuff and fight through the most difficult times, right? And I morphed myself into that person when I moved to Florida. And I think for you, right, and I've told this to you, is like that change from Colorado to California, having the move be your choice, getting out there, finding a place as beautiful as LA. And there's a lot of things I love about LA. The weather's gorgeous out there. The food's some of the best in the world. There's so much stuff to do out there. And, I think it's opportunities. And even in the places, like I said, for me, over the last, especially the last, we'll say, obviously the last year, but like the last 6 months was being able to find myself in all these places because I like to change, right? And I do like to change, but sometimes it's hard when you're not in the same place or you're living out of a suitcase or you don't ever like actually settle into a place or it's just kind of like these jumping places and things kind of happen so quick where the last 6 months where we kind of settled in, right? A lot of that travel of the 6 or 7 countries we went to was in that first 6 to 8 months of the year of the last year. And then we kind of settled in on Brazil and England now. And we've stayed here the longest and found, I was able to make friends, able to find new clients, able to meet awesome people, experience enough where I was in one place for a long enough time where I learn the streets and I know where the good restaurants are and that type of thing. And it makes it a lot easier to kind of go through that, right? But I think the thing overall, right? Because we're coaches, and I think that the coaching aspect and the work aspect and the fitness aspect, all of that has to come together for us in the place that we're at, right? Because I don't, for me, I know the biggest things for me are like, do I have a gym? Am I able to kind of like do the things that I want to do outside of that, and am I able to still coach, right? And those are the only things I really worry about, and everything else is either a added bonus or I just don't worry about it. So yeah, I think with the change, obviously, I've had a lot of change, you've had a lot of change, and I think that the one thing I consistently want to see in myself is growth and evolving into that next step. And I think that, you know, these points now where we're able to come together, have these conversations, and take these experiences are only going to improve not only the quality of the podcast, but the quality of anybody who listens, and then obviously our lives in general. Because for me, even every single day, I'm looking to improve, right? And every single day, I feel like I'm a better version of myself, whether it be because of the books I read or the experiences that I have, or the signing up for the triathlon, doing things like this, where I have to force myself to become a better individual, right? Because you don't just like do that stuff and that's it. Like you have to train, you have to be disciplined. I've been, it's only been a couple weeks now, but it's like waking up and doing these things and consistently training and putting it in. Like it's never been an issue for me, but it's like now I gotta add running, I gotta add biking, I gotta add swimming. Like all of this is just adds on top of each other, and it creates something that can be beautiful if you let it be beautiful. And I think for us, the constant change, and now you'll settle into LA, obviously, and that's one of the things we'll talk about is like settling into LA. But I think the biggest thing is allowing yourself when you need to change, like not becoming scared by that and like losing sight of it, right? Get in there, change, adapt, do the things you need to do, and just move forward. So yeah, and I think with so where we're at, right? A lot of change, a lot of things that are coming together, but you found the gym, you're working at Immortals. What has been one of the biggest things impact wise, even in a short time you've been to LA, that you found to be, you know, a positive, and then what are the things that you've kind of left from Colorado? You don't have to get specific, but
Yeah.
uh we don't we can do it. But
Oh.
we can talk about some of that stuff and the positives and the negatives.
Yeah, I mean, I think you made a good point about like adapting, and I think moving one originally from New York was like the biggest step I've ever taken in my life. Obviously, I
New
had
York's
no family.
this it always makes me so angry because I'm not going to get into it in detail, but I love New York. I love New York. I
Yeah.
really do. When I was home this last time, there was so much. I was like, oh, I love this. I love the track. I love obviously my friends and family, but
Yeah.
like they just, uh, anyways.
It's a different mindset. So like that's I think moving was huge for me mentally for two reasons. I'm very affected by weather. So like if it's cloudy outside for too many days, which in New York it seems like you'll go 2 months without seeing the sun. I'm just
Yeah.
like, nah, I don't want to do anything. I just want to stay in, do nothing. But also like I feel like the sunshine is what I was chasing. But also when I was in school, I remember seeing like map of the US and you see all these different states and they're turning red, 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 red for all these like increased risk of chronic diseases and all this other stuff. Colorado was always the last one to change. It's the healthiest state, the most fit state. So I was like, I want to be around those people. Those are my people. Um, but also like, and I'm sure you could see this pattern in Albany too. Like it's not just the 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 west side of New York. It's literally the entire Northeast. They get stuck in this mindset of like, I'm okay with things being shitty. I'm not going to change it.
Mhm.
Um, I'm not that person, and you're obviously not that person too. So taking the move was one of the biggest things because people in the Northeast tend to fall into that complacency and like being content. And I don't like that. I don't want to sit in that complacency. Um, so not only like surrounding myself with the right environment, but the right people and the right mindset helped me grow, but also like not knowing anybody and having to adapt to that is huge. And I'm going through the same thing here in LA. I a little less this time because obviously I have family out here, but one of the things I want to leave in Colorado is like I feel like I didn't have my place. I feel like I found my people, but it wasn't my place. Or
Yeah.
sometimes it was the same thing, like I found my place, but I didn't have the right people. And
Yeah.
not to say that I didn't have the right people there. I need family. Being a big family guy, and you get the same thing coming from the same family. That's how it works. But I think the thing that I'm looking forward to the most is just being surrounded by people that I love, people like close to me, people I could share things with, people who have a similar experience as I do, coming from New York to another state. Um,
I
and
think the
I,
only thing left on our checklist is to move together and live
dude,
in the
that's what I'm saying. Like, next big step is obviously like we are gonna end up in the same place eventually,
halfway there.
and we're
That is it.
gonna. What'd you say?
No, I said that's gonna be the next big change. One of these days you're gonna see us together in
Yeah,
this room doing the podcast, and it's gonna be
we're
a
gonna we're gonna start on Zoom just to trick people, and it's gonna be two cameras, and then we're just gonna shut one off, and the camera's just gonna slide over. It's just gonna be us next to each other.
Well, I think one of the things we can talk about with all of this, right? Because you gave some really good insight there as to, the positives and the negatives. Like, I think for me, one of the biggest things I get asked and that I, you know, have struggled with to a certain degree is with all the travel is keeping up with the business, keeping up with the fitness, keeping up with all this stuff and finding routine and finding, this cycle of like this constant change and how do you find the constants, right? And I think, for me, being in a opportunity where I get to go to these places, right? I get to go to these new countries, I get to go to these new places. For a while I struggled. Like, so I remember
Hmm.
the first month of doing this travel thing, like month and a half, I was in Brazil and I was like losing my mind, bro. And I was, did I make the
Yeah.
right decision? Like, what's going on? Cause like I was never in a, cause it felt like vacation, right? And it felt like, all right, well, I'm here to, enjoy it, blah, blah, blah.
Well,
And you don't
especially
stick
when you're living
to
out
it.
of like a suitcase or a duffel bag, it
Yeah.
literally like you
It's
feel
like,
like it's not stable.
oh my God. And then you're in Brazil and you're trying all these new foods and you're meeting all these different people. And I got there and I just kind of like didn't have a schedule for like 2 weeks. And I was just like, I wasn't getting anything done. I wasn't kind of, going, I was just like missing on things. I was missing, you know, programs. I was missing, I wasn't really missing workouts, but like it was just not feeling 100%. And then, that was kind of the first point where I really sat down. I was like, all right, well, if I'm going to be successful in doing this, I have to like set my schedule and I had to like make
Hmm.
my own schedule. And not to the point that like, it was different because when I worked in Florida and I had my clients and I had the things that I was dealing with in Florida, it was still for the most part like someone's going to come in at 6, someone's going to come in at 7. I'm going to have a client at 8. I'll have a break from like 9 to 2, and then like I have another class at 2, and I have people at 3, and then I have people at 4 and 5, and then like your day's over. And like,
Yeah.
as much as a personal trainer, you can make your own schedule. It's like, there's times that are fast and filled, and you go from there. And I think one of the things that I struggled with was like there was none of that. And like at the time, we were still developing the schedule. Ian, didn't really have the schedule in place. We were just kind of like training when the time came, and we didn't have it. You know what I mean? And I was like, oh my God, like I was waking up and I was just like, didn't know what I was gonna do. And I was just kind of like sitting there the rest.
I'm big on routine, man. If I can't find like a good rhythm, I start to crumble.
Yeah. And like, it got to the point where I was like, all right, if I don't set my schedule, then like this isn't gonna work out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I did, and I sat down and I was like, all right, first thing, what's the most important thing working out for me? I'm doing that first, right? And basically, like I've always been a guy who could wake up early ever since I had the gym because I had to wake up at like 4 a.m. when I had Thrive to get there for the initial classes, to get there at like 4:30, start the classes at like 5:30, whatever it was. And it was always easy for me. Like I just did it, And then from
Hmm.
that point on, it was just, you know, always putting me in that wake up early mindset, and I was just setting the schedule. But like that first couple weeks I didn't have it, and I was like, oh my God, like what am I doing? Like I was just going nuts. I was going nuts. Like I just
Dude, that
can't.
was like that's one of the hardest parts about the move right now is like I moved out here and for like a week and a half, 2 weeks almost, I had a schedule where I was waking up early and doing this stuff and I was like, all right, I'm finally falling into it. And then I had a vacation for 8 days and I came back and now it's like completely messed up again. Like I'm
Yeah, and I
feeling like
think
I can't fall asleep at night. It's hard to wake up in the morning. So like schedules everything.
Yeah, and I think like the biggest thing for me is like one of the big tools I've used is every time I go somewhere, within an hour of landing, I'm in the gym, doing
Yeah.
something in the gym, right? As long as there's no, obviously it doesn't always work out like that, but
Yeah. When you
within
visit me,
an
you'll have
hour,
an hour of traffic
rephrase,
first.
within an hour of being settled wherever I am, I'm at a gym, very shortly after, because I find as soon as I work out, my body feels better, I feel better. I get this like how like we were having a conversation yesterday with Bree, like when you get hungry, how you're like pissed
Oh,
off.
I'm the
Bro,
worst human being when I'm
I'm the
hungry, man.
same way with working out. Like if I don't work out, I'm like I I like am angry. I hate people. I just don't like
Bro,
I feel
do you think Hitler was on keto? Do you think he was just always
it.
hungry? It's like,
He
do
was
you
just
want
trying
bread? Nine.
he
Just can't fucking eat
was just
anything.
he was just trying to find meat. He was just trying to find the keto diet everywhere he went.
Oh
Uh,
my God.
but yeah, so I was trying to like get through rephrase. So I would get super angry. Like I just always feel angry if I don't work out. Once I get the like first couple lifts in or just get moving and sweating, I hate sweating because I sweat so much, but then like I love sweating
Yeah.
because I sweat. Like
You feel
once I
so
sweat
good after,
in the
dude.
gym
Yeah.
and I feel good. I feel like $1,000,000. So like, that was one of those things where I'm just like, all right, no matter what, I gotta work out in the like first thing in the morning, do something. It doesn't have to be like whether it's the full workout, whether, whatever, but like I gotta do something. And that's when I started to really kind of like get into a groove with all this travel because bro, I've had some times where the change was like absurd. Bro, I remember the one time I got sick in Iceland. Like when I was in Iceland, I was like,
Oh, I forgot about
bro,
that.
I was like, dude, I couldn't move for 4 days because we went from, not to mention the week before that, Ian decided on like a day's notice that we were going to Spain. So we were in England. We were here where I'm at now in England. A day later, we went to Spain for 2 days. Then we went back to Manchester, and then we went to Iceland. And that was in a 5 day stretch.
Dude, that would murder me.
Oh my God. And then
Because
by
you
the
can sleep on planes too, right? You can fall asleep on them.
to a certain degree, I can sleep on planes, but like this was like a short flight to Spain. We trained jujitsu like hard as hell for 3 days. Then we took a flight to Manchester, met barely slept on that plane, stayed up all night to watch the garbage that was the KSI Dylan Dennis Logan Paul shit, and then barely slept that night because I wanted to watch Paul Hughes, who I train,
Yeah.
a fighter from Ireland who had fought that night. He KOs the dude. We had a flight 2 hours later at like 2 a.m. 4 a.m. We're on the plane to Iceland. Got to Iceland, and then I went through this whole thing. Had a couple days of hard training, barely slept, and then I woke up on Thursday and I was like, "Oh, move!" It just my body was hurting.
You
And
woke up dead, bro.
we got stuck in Iceland because it's pretty common with the volcanoes when they get ready to erupt, they like cancel the flights just to be
Ah,
safe.
yeah.
So we got stuck there in actually like 2 or 3 days. And for those 2 or 3 days, I was literally didn't move from my bed. I think I ate like 4 grapes in the span of 48 hours.
The universe
But
helped you out on that one by getting
oh
those
my God.
volcanoes going.
Yeah, but then yeah, and then from there we kind of settled back in England. Then it was just more travel. But that was, like I said, besides that, I've had a very good run of like finding these places, getting in there, getting to the workout, enjoying the day, and like getting right on schedule. Because for me, that's like the routine is such a big part of this that as you start to travel, you start to learn this stuff. But even like in your daily life, like I think one of the biggest things that helps for you, right, in California is trying to figure out what's my schedule, right? And as you have this opportunity, it's like, okay, what are the most important things for me in my day? Like, what are the things I want to do the most? And then from there, those are the first things you do, or you do those as soon as possible, or you make the time for them, whether it's later in the day or however that is. And then the rest of the day fills with the things you have to do, right? You have to work,
Hmm.
you have to, chores, tasks, errands, whatever you have to do. But that seems to me to be one of the biggest things. And I made a post this week about the BGPerform guiding principles. If you haven't seen that, it's on my Instagram. But these are just some of the things, like if you can carry this with you in every aspect of training, you're never going to be feeling lost, and you're never going to put yourself in a position where you can't handle the situation, right? And I'll read them just because they're right here. But I think like one of the things to talk about, like movement, number one, right? Find a way to move. And we'll have an episode about this, but for the last 2 months religiously, I've been 10,000 steps a day minimum. And it's changed physically, it's changed. It's given me time to think, but it's kind of given me an opportunity and found to see how effective something as simple as like 10,000 steps a day is for, me, someone who trains all the time, right? And now imagine someone who doesn't even train and looks at training as like this big, this big thing that like they can't get in front of or they can't get ahead of. It's like this is how you get ahead, right?
Hmm.
10,000 steps, as simple as that. It's like an hour 15 of walking, right? And that's if you do it straight. If you move throughout your day consistently, you're done with it by the
Yeah,
end of
you
your
add
day.
up even like
Good,
little
right?
trips to the fucking bathroom or
Exactly. Stuff like that,
kitchen
like
or yeah.
little walks, taking these things, right? Like they're so important, right? And then sleep, allowing yourself the most amount of time in bed. I think people get fixated on this, you know, 6 to 8 hours of sleep. And if you do, like that's fine because that's where we need to be, around that 6 to 8 hours. But you need to realize that like if you're giving yourself 8 hours of sleep, like you're getting in bed at 8 hours, you're really maximally only going to get like seven, right?
Hmm.
And now imagine if you give yourself only 7 hours of sleep, you're really only going to get six. So it's like when you look at this stuff, you have to give yourself the most amount of time in bed possible, right? If you can give yourself 8 to 10 hours in bed, you're going to get a lot closer to that 8 hours of sleep. Then we have the environment, which I think is the most important one, right? As like building people, places, things, like having this place, right? For me, it's a little bit different because I have an environment of Ian, Layla, Rich, Curtis when he's here, and the kids. So it's like we're our own little tribe, right? And as much as finding the people around helps, and I've met cool people in these places, like we still have the people where we're at, right? But I think for when you're in that place, like when you're in a specific place, like in LA, especially in LA, it's like go fucking get your roots in, you know what I mean? And when I
Hmm.
settle down again, that's exactly what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna find the place. I'm gonna dig my fucking hands in, and I'm gonna dig and get everything that I can out of the
I'm gonna
place.
corner them.
Warner or Wolverine. Wolverine. I'm gonna go. And I'm gonna go in. I'm gonna get the most out of it that I can. And if you don't have that, I think this is one of the biggest things that I wrote on here too. Is like if you don't have those people around you yet, you know, find them online and put them in your ears. Get a big headphone set. Don't listen to anything
Hmm.
else, and just listen to that stuff on repeat until you start to feel better, you start to learn, or get the information that you want. Then from there, nutrition. This is simple enough that I think it can be spoke like this, but people overthink it, right? And you can't overthink nutrition. If you drink enough water, eat enough protein, eat whole foods as much as you possibly can, right? Outside of the occasional Shake Shack, because I love a good Shake Shack. I love a good Shake Shack.
Chick-fil-A is it's got its finger in my pockets.
I'm
It's
gonna
taking
post
some
something
money every once in
tomorrow
a while.
about Nando's versus Chick-fil-A on TikTok and Instagram. Pay attention. All right.
Nando's, never heard of it.
Nando's is the English like chicken place. It's
All right. Okay.
Um,
Her.
but drink a lot of water, eat whole foods as much as possible, and just don't eat like an asshole, really. Like
Yeah.
don't eat
Quit
like,
being an asshole in the
yeah,
kitchen.
like just be smarter about those decisions, because that's the biggest thing is nutrition. If you can handle your nutrition in the smartest way possible, you're going to make so much more progress in such a short time that
Hmm.
it's night and day, right?
Yeah.
And then the last two, routine, which we already really talked about, is establish a routine, because if you can establish a routine, your sleep's going to be better, your workouts are going to be more effective, and everything else is just going to kind of work into this flow as you go. And last but not least, I think this is again one of the most important parts and goes along with the idea of like environment, but do you as much as you can, right? I've noticed that one of the things that I've missed in this travel is that I haven't done a lot of the stuff that I like truly, truly love, right? Some of it's because I can't, because it's not normal over here, or I don't have it. But there's always ways that I can keep around it, right? And keep the things that I love to do around me. And that's been kind of like my biggest focus now, is as I've gone a little bit deeper into these travels and I've been doing this more and more, it's, where can I fit in the stuff that I love and do it as much as I can, right? A lot of it, I'm lucky that I love what I do as like a job. So like I enjoy working out, I enjoy reading about it, I enjoy watching videos about it. So a lot of it I like doing, that helps me, right? But I need to find these other outlets and these other things, because they're a big part of my life too. And as I've tried to push them away and be like maybe later, they've always like creeped up and been like, hey, 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 remember me, you know what I mean? And I miss them and I forget about them, and they're a big part of what I do. So, those are the basic principles. If you can follow that, it doesn't matter where you are in the world or who you're with, you're always going to be able to create a healthy, fulfilling lifestyle. And I think that even with myself, right? I've trained some of the best athletes in the world. And I think that one of the things that I do well, that I think a lot of coaches miss out on, is that these people are humans, right? And I think that if you want a successful athlete, yes, the work needs to be done. And the work's always going to be done, because they're there for a reason. But I think if you can help them get these other pillars in order, not only are you going to be successful in the gym, you're going to be successful everywhere else in life, and it's going to result in wins. You know what I mean? Oh, well
At
done.
the timer.
That's the
Is
timer.
that what I kept hearing? I kept feeling like I was hearing like a guy going. I didn't know
Probably
what the
'cause I
fuck
have
was.
probably because voice isolation, but he was
Okay,
counting down. We had the 15 halfway there, then the last minute, and then the last three
got it.
seconds he counted down. Any last words?
You know, no, just no, just figure it out. No, I'm kidding. No, yeah, just I think really, really those kind of those principles to stick by are the biggest thing. So obviously, give yourself time to sleep, put yourself in the right environment, around the right people. Nutrition's huge, but like the biggest thing is you're in control of those things. It's not like, oh, well, I've been dealt these cards. This is what I have to deal with. Do everything you can to make sure that you're getting what you need to be successful. Because if you're not doing that, no one else is going to do it for you. Like that's one of
Yeah,
those things you just have to,
yeah.
you have to do it.
And I think it's a good place to stop it, because I think we can dive back into this a little bit more in the next conversation. And
Hmm.
yeah, one last question.
Yeah.
Where do we rank the Deadpool intro all time?
Oh, all time. Like, what do you mean? Like out of 10?
Like Marvel, yeah, like in Marvel intros.
Oh, for Marvel intros. I mean, if we're going back, how much time do you have?
I mean, we
I'll
got a
take
couple minutes.
I'll take a couple minutes to do this. Okay. So you think of like the best intros, obviously like one of the coolest intros to a movie was Avengers 2 because they took that single shot that was really popular from Avengers 1 and they just brought it into an intro, which was sick. Good banter and stuff like that. Other intros we have I'm trying to think of like what the top intro is in Marvel because that honestly might be it. Shit, man. Dude, it might be. It might be best because
It
it
was
was it
fun.
was really funny. It was funny.
Funny.
There was a lot of banter. It was true Deadpool.
They really
Um,
they did a fucking beautiful job with that movie.
dude,
Chef's
I wish
kiss.
you gave me more time to think about that question. You
I
know,
was just popped up.
big Marvel nerd.
We'll have more time to talk about it.
Yeah, yeah.
So thank you guys for stopping by. If you listen this far, we are going to try to do this as much as possible. I'm locked in. Jerry's
Locked
locked.
in, baby.
We're here for it. We're gonna get these am taps going. Try to get them, like I said, every week if we can. If not, we'll figure out, but we're gonna try to hit this every single week.
Yes, sir.
And yeah, if you guys have anything you want to hear, if you want us to have a specific topic for the MTAP, let us know. We will see you guys next time. Peace.